What is up, Level Up Nation, and welcome to the Monday, October 12th edition of LvLUp Live, your home for gaming and esports news, brought to you by OTN Media. My name is Fiasco. You can call me John. That stud over there to my stage left, I think, something like that, is the king of the courtside. You can call him Joey, but king of the courtside, he's always number one in our hearts. What's up, Joey?
Doing well, buddy. I'm just changing. We had a little false start there for the live audience. It did not quite work, and I think my volume levels are now jacked up too. So you might want to just check yours, John. You're coming across lower for me now. So
Oh, well, okay.
I've turned everything up, so I think we're okay. But
Sweet. Looks good on OBS. Looks good on Audacity on my end.
perfect. And I think we're good to go. Guys, thanks for joining us on this beautiful holiday. Indigenous Peoples Day for some, Christopher Columbus for others. Some people just did not get a holiday at all, but we are back. We decided not to take today off because there is a little bit in the news today. Some big esports events this past weekend, a couple big gaming news things to hit on as well. As the intensity of the consoles continue on as we get closer to November, League of Legends Worlds is right in the middle of things with quarterfinals coming up. So lots to talk about today, John.
Oh my goodness, Joey. It's definitely a Monday. Well, congratulations. You had a holiday today. I still had to go into work today because my big boy job does not believe in giving paid holidays, it feels like. So I hope you had a great Monday. Nation, hope you had a great Monday as well. And what would make your Monday even better is if you were following the show on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can follow us at LvLUp Live. That is at LvLUp Live. And while you're on Twitter, why not give Joey and myself a follow? You know, your two favorite hosts here on LvLUp Live. You can find Joey at Courtside King, find myself at Fiasco. You're watching here live on Twitch. Right below those beautiful mugshots you're currently staring at here on Twitch, those are our handles. If you're listening on the podcatcher of choice later on down the road on the podcast, they'll be in the show notes for you below. And nation, as always, if you wish, words are hard on a Monday, to listen to the podcast version of the show, the LvLUp Podcast is available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And since you're listening to the podcast already, why not leave us a review? Reviews do go a long way in helping reach new listeners and grow the audience, and we would be very appreciative if you give us some feedback. Any kind of feedback is awesome, so we do appreciate if you take a small portion of your day to leave us really awesome feedback. All right, Joey, and Yoshi combined. Joshi. That's your new gamer tag, by the way, Joshi. I'm going to put you in my phone.
New character in Super Smash Brothers. See, I have elevated from Jigglypuff to Yoshi. Look at that.
Do not disrespect Yoshi like that, sir. All right, Joey, we had a lot going on this weekend. North America has yet again continued to disappoint in Worlds for League of Legends. I know that's going to be one hot topic. I know you ran down a little bit there, but is there anything else we're hitting on Monday's episode today?
Yeah, John, we're going to talk a little bit about the Overwatch League Finals and League of Legends Worlds in our esports section. On top of that, a couple big roster changes, another big organization jumping into Halo as we get closer to Infinite's launch, a few big partnerships. One of them involving our friend Panicking Pat's The Doc. He is making a little bit of a partnership going on the side of Rogue Company. We have some Amazon news, some EA news, some Sony news, and much more.
All right, Joe, before we even dive into this episode, of course, you know what time it is. Of course, I'm talking about the drink of choice. So, Joey, I need to know on this fine Monday that you had off, you had all day to prepare for this segment. Do not let me down. Your beverage of choice, please.
So I have a new beverage. I've never tried this, and I don't think I can pronounce it either. It's German, though, so you're going to get a try. The world's oldest brewery. It's a Hefeweizen beer.
Hefeweizen?
I guess that's like a Hefeweizen. It's a Bavarian style. You want to try to pronounce this name for me?
Oh, I've had that one before. It's, hold on. Oh, boy. Weizen stuff? Oh, boy. My German is rusty.
Stefana.
No, so the W is pronounced as a V, Joey.
I also just don't do good with the German thing. I need to work on that.
Yikes.
I'm drinking a nice Bavarian style beer, John. That's what we asked, right?
I appreciate your effort there. Very much so. Joey, I am turning back to the hard liquor. It was a Monday. I did not have the day off. Lemon Bacardi rum topped off with some beautiful Coke Zero. So I have my beverage of choice. Joey, you have your beverage of choice. Joey, we have topics. It is Monday, October 12th. Let's get right into it. Let's get right into gaming and esports news. Let's go.
I am low-key stoked about this, but in the roster moves, we have our third Halo roster move in 3 weeks' time, or 3 episodes, I believe, actually. So we had the Sentinels come back in. They made some big roster moves there. And then we had your boys Cloud9 jumping back into the Halo scene. Their first time back in since Ninja actually played for them. And now we have Envy, another high-profile organization, jumping back into Halo. The roster includes I Got Your Pistola, a Pure Gangster, the One Saiyan, and Trippe. I really like this move. Once again, it's people showing more and more faith into Halo. Again, I don't think the Halo competitive scene has been that great over the last couple of years. There's been some positives, but a lot of negatives as well. It hasn't had the clout it had back in the MLG days. At the same point, we are getting closer and closer to Halo Infinite, which could launch anywhere from January 2021 to December 21. Who knows? There's a lot of speculation out there. Personally, I think it's going to launch sometime in spring, maybe early summer around June. But as we get closer and closer to that scene, as we get closer and closer to the first Halo to officially launch on PC, we're getting closer and closer to that hype of the possibility of it returning to being an esport great. And I think a lot of organizations, again, we've seen it with Valorant as well, they want to buy in early. They want to try to establish themselves, or in these cases, reestablish themselves in the scene prior to that game getting a ton of hype.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I love seeing the Halo scene continue to grow. I love seeing more organizations dive in. Halo, really a classic when it comes to esports. When you take a look just at the history of esports and how it's evolved, Halo has played a massive, massive role. It's fallen off over the years. It's kind of been upsetting to see a classic title like Halo kind of fall by the wayside in comparison to other esport titles out there. But it feels like Halo has been rejuvenated with Infinite coming out and all this hype coming back again. You know, you have the older generations and the younger generations, the millennials and the Gen Zs, so hyped about Halo that I feel like this has an actual chance now. I love to see great organizations buy in ahead of time into the Halo scene as it does reemerge into esports.
And it's one of those things, like, games have really done well on console in the past, but now when you look at most of the popular esports titles, let's say the Overwatch, League of Legends, Dota 2, a lot of these titles are PC based. Even if you look at some of the big sports titles, they're primarily played on console, but a lot of the different leagues and competitions base them on a PC and allow you to plug in whatever controller so they can kind of bypass that system, I don't know, specialization, that the ability for PlayStation users not to play against Xbox users, for example. You can bypass that by playing it on a PC. Call of Duty League has always been on a console. There has never been a big Call of Duty competition that has not been on console, outside of a few little prize pool things here and there. Now it's moving to PC. So it's no longer you can only play on PlayStation. You can play on Xbox, PlayStation, whatever you want controller-wise, but you're going to be playing as PC on your main platform. This, to me, is the big move that we see Halo making now. With Infinite moving to PC, I would be absolutely stunned if the esports scene did not move to PC as well. Now, again, you still run into a bit of a bump in the sense that it's only available on Xbox, PC, and then potentially cloud gaming as well, versus a Call of Duty that is, I don't think it's on Switch, but it's on PlayStation, it's on Xbox, it's on a number of different consoles and platforms. So it is a little bit more cross-platform. You're going to pull in bigger names there. Call of Duty also having a little wider reach in general. But I still think Halo could do really successfully starting out with an esports scene on the PC and with all these big orgs already buying in. CSGO 100 Thieves has decided to once again move on from the CSGO scene. They have dropped their roster as of today. Nadeshot dropped a video discussing the decision. John, overall, I'm not a big fan of this. Again, they have their reasons for doing it, but this is a 100 Thieves org that I feel like keeps tiptoeing into the CSGO scene and then right back out, and then back in, and then back out. And we've seen it before in other esports. Cloud9 and Team Liquid have done it with some rosters before in like Dota 2, like picking up a roster right before a big competition like the International. This has been a little bit different, though. With CSGO, there is no like giant competition. There's a lot of tournaments spread throughout the year. And 100 Thieves now jumping in and out once again. I hope they stay out this time, I guess, with this being their decision to leave once again. But I just don't like the lack of commitment of continuing to jump in and then out and then back in. It just feels a little troublesome, not only for the scene, but for fans and the players as well.
I mean, it almost feels like 100 Thieves is kind of in the middle of an identity crisis. Nadeshot made his name on FPS games. Like, that's, how he became what he is today. And 100 Thieves diving in and out of CSGO. One, I mean, it's not fair to the pros that sign on to your organization. That's one thing anybody looks for in a job is stability. That's something 100 Thieves clearly does not have when it comes to CSGO. It's like, okay, well, do you want to be a life brand style 100 Thieves with your clothing merch and everything else, which you're doing a great job at? You know, you're taking on FaZe, you're taking on a lot of other esport organizations that are trying to make that move as well. Or do you want to focus on esport titles? You know, CSGO isn't exactly a scene that's lacking in money. You know, obviously in comparison to like Dota or League of Legends, that's completely different. But CSGO isn't exactly hurting for prize pool money. We're still talking tens of millions of dollars in these prize pools. So, you know, there is money to be made. But the fact that 100 Thieves keeps going in and out of this scene, I mean, one, it's not cool for the players who take a chance of signing with 100 Thieves when they may have had other offers with other organizations. And two, for the fans, for fans of CSGO, for fans of first-person shooters that are like, yes, 100 Thieves are now back into CSGO. This was less than a year that they were back in CSGO before they're pulling the plug on it. And now I get it. Nadeshot has his reasons behind it. And, you know, whether you think they're valid or not, the biggest issue comes down to the players. You know, they took a chance with 100 Thieves. Now their contracts are voided out. And now that roster spot that they were competing with maybe 8-9 months ago, they decided to go with 100 Thieves. That roster spot's no longer there. That other organization filled in their spot with a different player. Now they're out of a job. Now they need to look. You know, I just don't like the feeling overall from this move. Make up your mind, stay in or stay out.
Now, I haven't fact-checked this, but Squirkle over in chat, I do trust him over there. He is saying their total time in the CS scene has been less than a year.
I think he's right.
John, I might be wrong, but I believe this dates back to like 2017 or 2018 when they had bought in. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at over the course of potentially 2 to 3 years here, with them not equaling a full-time of a year in the scene yet, pending Squirkle being right on this particular fact. So it's just absolutely crazy to me, the lack of it is a lack of commitment. It's a lack of commitment to stay in the scene, to continue to progress your players forward. It's a bit disappointing coming from a fan perspective. I want to see them thrive. I want to see them continue to invest in the scene like a Fnatic, like a Team Liquid, like a Cloud9 has done in League of Legends over the years. Start to invest in talent. Fnatic and Cloud9 a little bit more on the academy side, Team Liquid looking a little bit more to free agency, but overall a lot of that talent that continues to be replenished. If a team has a bad year, those organizations dive back into the free agency, dive back into their academy system, and find ways to continue to improve their roster. Team Liquid with Tactical is a great reason for that recently. Doublelift ended up going back to TSM, and Team Liquid brought Tactical up from their academy system. He did absolutely great. Yes, they didn't make it out of their Worlds group, but they still had a better showing than some of their counterparts like at TSM. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things to look at here. Me in particular, I don't like the idea of dropping out of a scene completely like this. Again, I think there are decisions that come with finances and all of that stuff that definitely makes sense for some organizations to drop out. 100 Thieves could be in that situation here. For me, it's just the fact that they keep floundering back and forth that's more disappointing than anything else. Over to partnerships and investments. The Overwatch League has inked a multi-year deal with IBM, which will see the league use IBM's cloud and artificial intelligence tech to power analytical and interactive content in its broadcast. I have no idea what this means. I mean, there's a lot of open-endedness with this particular deal. I like the fact it's multi-year. I think there's something proven in multi-year deals, the fact that both organizations are willing to work together for more than 1 year. It's not a let's just dip our toe in and see what happens. It's a we're going to dip our toe in, take a little bit of a swim, and then see where we go from here. So I do like the fact it's multi-year. As far as the cloud and artificial intelligence, that leaves it very open-ended of what this could end up being.
Yeah, isn't it Watson that IBM has as like their supercomputer that's got like this amazing AI one? I mean, look, it sounds cool on paper. Overwatch League teaming up with IBM, and, you know, their artificial intelligence. From an analytical standpoint, I mean, yeah, obviously a computer can, analyze data and numbers a lot quicker than the human brain can, unless you're like some kind of superhuman. So I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I applaud Overwatch League for thinking outside the box and trying to come up with new ways to interact with fans on its broadcast through AI. I feel like Overwatch League has bigger issues to worry about than fan interaction using artificial intelligence on the broadcast. Stats are great. The hardcore nerds out there is gonna love it. People love interacting with streams, so that's not an issue. But I feel like there's bigger issues behind the scenes with Overwatch League that they should be focusing on, more than partnering up with IBM's cloud and artificial intelligence service, even though it is still kind of cool. It just feels like there's more that they need to be worried about than just their broadcast interaction with fans.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. Like I said, I think for me, the biggest thing here is that it's a multi-year deal. Yeah, it's not the best deal potentially for fans, not the best deal potentially for us as viewers, for players, for the league in general. But I like the fact it's multi-year. Again, I do agree with you, John. I think there are other ways the Overwatch League can improve. We saw a little bit of a jump back and forth here with, what were they even called? Competitive bans, something like that, where they did the bans each month. It was kind of weird. But they experimented with that for a while. They did the lock-ins where it had to be a 2-2-2 lineup. So they've done some things to try to improve the league. I don't think it's quite there yet. But if we do look at the Overwatch League playoffs this year, I think there was a lot of excitement and a lot of positives to draw from those at least. Sticking with Activision Blizzard, but switching gears from Overwatch to WoW, they have made a new deal with Secret Labs. They've announced a partnership with Activision Blizzard to release officially licensed Warcraft gaming chairs. John, we're talking about a Horde Edition and Alliance Edition Omega and Titan model Secret Lab chair. Are you for the Horde or for the Alliance, good sir?
Hold on a second. I am definitely putting this up on our new handy dandy web page thingamabobber with webcams in the corner slide. I love this. Obviously for the Horde all the way. But I will say this, the Alliance chair looks sick as anything. Blue and gold is always a solid color combination. Red and black solid as well. Out of the two chairs, I do have to kind of give the edge, if you will, to the Alliance chair, because I think it does look absolutely incredible. But still, if I bought in, I'd still go for the Horde because I wouldn't be caught dead with an Alliance chair anywhere in my house. Simple as that.
They are good looking chairs. I do like the gold trim on the Alliance, like the wings of the side.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they would have done that in black or something on the Horde version.
I kind of wish the Horde version was like a little more tattered, like when you see like all the flags like in Ogrimmar, like they're all ripped, from everything. I want to see more rough. I mean, that's the thing with the Horde, they're kind of roughed up outcasts, the Alliance didn't want them because, the Alliance make horrible decisions and, start wars and everything, BFA. So, stop being the aggressors, but I think both chairs are great, but I would still go for the Horde one. And I do kind of like the scrappiness of the designs on the side there for the Horde, where it was more of the royalty design on the sides for the Alliance. But the back of these chairs also look great. They have banners that drop down with the logos on the black background. So there's a blue ribbon coming down with the lion logo as well for the Alliance. On the Horde side, it's black. It's blue on the Alliance with gold, I believe. I need to find this out. Hold on a second. I saw a picture earlier. I know I'm probably getting crap in chat for trashing the Alliance, but it's fine.
I'll tell you, John, I'll make a deal. If you get the Horde chair, I will gladly rip its sides for you if you want a little bit more of a tattered look to it.
I am good, Joey. I appreciate the offer. I am going to go ahead and pass. Hold on a second. Secret Lab chair. We're just going to go to the website because I feel like that's probably going to be the best take here.
Fun fact, guys, we are not sponsored by Secret Lab at the moment. We do talk about their chairs quite often because they make these awesome deals with stuff like Cyberpunk, League of Legends, and now over here with World of Warcraft. So they're constantly in the news with these cool partnerships. And John does have the website up now.
So here you go. So the back on the Horde, at least, black with the red banner with the Horde logo. We'll just briefly look at. Okay, so I'm sorry. Look, that kind of looks like a tattered banner there. That kind of makes me upset that that's on the Alliance chair. But either way, I think they both look incredibly great. If I do have to rank them, I'd put the Alliance over the Horde just because I like the color scheme and I think it's a better looking back to the chair as well. And plus, blue and gold is classic. Can't go wrong with that. But always for the Horde. Always for the Horde.
Wow, a lot of back and forth here tonight in this conversation, John. Yeah, for the Horde, but for the Alliance chair, back to the Horde. You're starting to sound like 100 Thieves in CSGO.
Ouch. Well, you know what? I've already made the decision. I'm going with the Horde chair after I buy my new television. So we have a little ways to go before we get there.
Slowly but surely as the Horde rises up to take on their former leader. Per a conversation on Twitter, this one happened over the summer between DrDisrespect and High Res Studios. They have a new third-person shooter game. It just entered into open beta this past week, and that is Rogue Company. The Doctor, going back and forth with the Twitter account, decided he wasn't going to design his own map for the game. Since throwing up the initial design, he put together a concept. It was a 3D concept. It was quite well done. I'm sure he paid someone else to do it, but again, I don't know what happens in the Doc's life. Either way, He ended up sending that concept over to Hi-Rez and Rogue Company. They've decided to move forward with the design, and they are now fleshing it out into an actual arena map. It will be known as the Arena, and it's going to feature all different DrDisrespect stuff from Champions League to merchandise, or Champions Club, I think is what it's called over there. Champion League. See, I'm in my soccer mood. But it's really cool, John. I did put a Twitter link in there as well if you want to pull that one up for the stream. Some really cool designs. I actually really like the look of this map so far from what we're getting from Hi-Rez.
Yeah, I love that link is actually broken.
What?
Yeah, it came
using
up
a broken link.
It came up as page does not exist.
Well, you don't exist.
Why?
See, we're working on our Monday comebacks over here. I just reposted it. See if that one works.
Let's see here.
So, guys, this is really cool. And DrDisrespect completely designing this thing again. I think he probably had some help here. Is that one broken too?
It is. I'm just going to go to the actual.
Just go to Rogue Company Twitter. It should be one of the first couple posts. I don't know why it's working for me and not for you. Disappointment, Twitter. Thank you very much for coming through in the clutch tonight. But it's really cool. Again, guys, I really like the idea of streamers working with games like this. And for something new like Rogue Company that's still trying to build up its hype, it has similar game modes to Rainbow Six Siege, Counter-Strike, Global Offensive, Valorant. It's trying to find its spot within there as a third-person game compared to a first-person game. And to do deals like something like this with DrDisrespect, who is a huge personality, even after moving off Twitch, he is giant on YouTube. This thing looks so cool, and I think he designed a really well-done competitive map. And Hi-Rez is just taking it to another level with the design.
Yeah, it looks solid. I love the fact that we're bringing content creators into, designing game levels, game modes, or maps, or whatever we want to do, because like that's a great way to get more people to play your game. People who watch DrDisrespect who may not consider playing the game might consider it now that they can really immerse themselves into the Champions Club of DrDisrespect. I think it's kind of cool. I think it's a smart move. Now, I don't think every game can do this, but I do think it's a very unique opportunity for fans to really immerse and kind of take that relationship, if you will, with a streamer they enjoy watching to another level in game. So I do think that's really cool.
And it's one of those things. So, guys, I've started playing Rogue Company since it went into open beta on Friday. It's free to play, cross-play, cross-save, everything. So you can play on your Xbox, your PlayStation, with your fellows on PlayStation or Xbox, PC, I think Nintendo Switch. It's pretty much everywhere, and it's cross-save. So your Xbox file can go to PC, to PlayStation, and back and forth, etc. All your levels, all your cosmetics, everything will save over and be able to transfer. It reminds me a lot of Rocket League in the way they do the Rocket ID as well as Fortnite. Very open-ended, very easy to play, and again, it's free to play. A really cool game, though, and entered into open beta, so there are still issues. There's no ranked system yet. There's some glitches here and there that'll happen. I think the economy system needs some work on the competitive side. So there's a number of different things that still need to be worked out and tweaked. But of every game I played in the last couple of years, I don't think I remember a single developer that listens as much as Hi-Rez. They are constantly giving feedback on social media. They're constantly giving video updates daily or bi-daily. Tons and tons of great developer feedback and back and forth between the gamers. So that's something I can really get behind. I know, John, in the early days of Blizzard, we saw a lot of this too with WoW. Hearthstone had it for a while when Broad was there. So I like the idea of gamers giving that feedback. Whether the developers decide to move forward with it or not, I like the idea that it's constantly addressed. Like, hey, guys, we hear you. We don't agree on this part, but we're going to try this and see if we can find a middle point. That, to me, is a huge respect for gamers, and I like supporting games that do that. And now you can do it with a little disrespect, too, because Doctor is making his map in the game. Cool stuff there. Over to some other news. Sony has continued to roll back its previous statements, but this time it's a good one, guys. There is no bad things about this statement, in my opinion. Again, some Sony fanboys might disagree with me and find something to argue about, but Sony has bumped the number of backwards compatible PS4 titles to closer to 4,000 as playable on the PS5. This number was previously around 100 or so of the popular games. They've worked out a formula, and they have now made about 4,000 of those PS4 games be able to transfer to PS5. Now, there is a slight catch, but again, it's not a terrible thing. Only about 100 of those games will see enhancements via boost mode. So for those who don't know what boost mode is, Xbox describes it as kind of their way to move it forward and increase the frames per second, to increase some of the graphical fidelity, to do little tweaks and enhancements here and there to make the game feel a little bit more next gen in a sense. So that is one thing we're only going to see on about 100 of the greatest titles on PS4, which I think is honestly a fine number. I don't think every single 4,000 of these games need to be enhanced to that level. I think over time we might see it anyway. As they continue to develop into backwards compatibility, I wouldn't be surprised if more games get enhanced. But for me, the fact that 4,000 of those PS4 games is now playable on a PS5, I think is a huge win for Sony players.
Yeah, this is unexpected. This is very weird. Positive news coming from the Sony camp. Yeah, I mean, Sony has the technology to allow backwards compatibility. They don't want to do it for whatever reason. They want to force people onto the next gen and just forget about older generational games. They would rather you pay another $5 to do a digital download of that game from the PlayStation or PlayStation 2 era through the PlayStation Store to get that extra money out of you to play a classic game on a newer system. But yeah, this is actually good. It's weird. If you're a Sony fanboy and you have an issue with this, do us all a favor. Go buy a roll of duct tape and put it across your mouth and tape your fingers down so you can't type on the computer either. This is good. This is a great thing. 100 games. I agree with you, Joey. I think that's a solid number to receive an enhancement, if you will, from the next gen console. I mean, it's obviously good. It should be 100 of the more popular titles. It shouldn't be like some random title that maybe only sold like a fraction in comparison to like a Gran Turismo or something like that. So I would assume that the 100 that receive that boost are going to be main title games. So that's a good thing for gamers. It's very weird. Again, I said it once, I'll say it again. It's weird seeing gaming companies, console designers, game developers, game studios start to become a little more gamer friendly. It's very odd. Now, that's not saying there's like dirty stuff going on behind the scenes still, that all that's no longer there. It's still there, but they're still being nice to gamers. It's weird. It's like, I'm used to slamming Sony on this, Joey, and I love my PlayStation. There's nothing wrong with this. And if you're, again, Sony fanboy and you have a complaint about this, just do us all a favor and shut up.
And this also goes out to the Xbox fanboys who are now copying and pasting all the Sony guys complaining that there's nothing great about backwards compatibility. When the Xbox did it, and now they're sending right back at them, I think that stuff is just as stupid. But when it comes down to it, this is a huge win for gamers. Again, this is the importance of having multiple big makers in the industry. Xbox puts so many resources into backwards compatibility. They're going to have every single game, well, not every single one, but the majority of their games from the original Xbox through to the Xbox One all backwards compatible and all boosted. But they have put years into it. Sony said, we don't want to do that. We never want to touch backwards compatibility. Now, because of the industry, because of the positivity that Microsoft and Xbox got, we're seeing Sony make those changes as well. Now, if you look on the flip side, Sony with the huge, big, like third-person action-adventure games, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, Last of Us, all of these giant games that have done extremely well. Now you have Xbox investing tons and tons of money into deals like Bethesda to get the Fallout IP, to buy different things out like the Initiative and make your own studio that's potentially going to be a triple or quadruple A studio. So we're seeing tons and tons of investments, Obsidian, In Exile, some other ones out there. So a number of these studios now being picked up by Microsoft. Not because of anything else other than Sony, in my opinion, because Sony has done so well in that area and has shipped consoles on exclusives alone. Now Microsoft is investing money into it. So you have the give and take from both sides. There's positivity with competition in the industry. I think this one for Sony gamers is a big win, having those now backwards compatible titles. If Panicking Pat is still in the chat, he's going to enjoy this next one. EA has copy and pasted. We're talking a little control action, some Control Z or C, Control V action going on here. They have copy and pasted FIFA's coding on Switch for the second year in a row. The Switch version of the newest FIFA will not feature any game enhancements, with the exception of updated rosters. So if you want to play with your new club roster, you got them on there. Do you want to play with those new defensive maneuvers? They're not available. So really, EA, once again, it feels like they've stuck it to gamers so many times again and again, especially with these sports games. Now really sticking it to Switch players by saying, we don't even value you enough to put the updates in other than the roster changes that we have done here. On top of that, IGN ended up reviewing the Switch game, copy and pasted the review from last year, just to spite EA a little bit and lowered the score. I think huge congratulations to IGN, big moves there. But I am even more mad at EA after a move like this.
I mean, just when you think EA couldn't piss off gamers anymore, just when you think EA has screwed you over for the last time. Just when you think EA has gone to rock bottom and back and couldn't go any lower, they do this. The biggest complaint about EA and every sports title they have ever made, year after year after year, is it's essentially the same game with minor updates. They did not even bother to update a single thing other than the rosters, which is very simple coding in comparison to everything else. For the Switch version of FIFA 21, it is literally a copy and paste of all the coding for full price. EA, pardon my French, what the hell are you doing? This is an absolute nightmare. It is stupid. It is horrific. You look like an absolute buffoon, and you deserve every single ounce of criticism people give you. 100%. Please, by all means, try to top this one. I dare you, EA. Try to top this one of copying and pasting coding for a legitimate console and selling it for full price again. I dare you to go even lower than that. I want to see if they can do it, Joey. I am honestly intrigued if they can go even lower.
Wow. So Switch players, you're probably not going to get the next version of EA's game. Thanks to John over here. But no, I mean, seriously, this is so bad because you're paying again for the same content over and over. Look, LvLUp fam, I could go into FIFA, probably take a week's worth of time and update every single roster. It probably wouldn't even take that long. I could probably get it done in under a week. It's one of those things that's like, okay, this is very lazy. Again, I'm sure this is being a little blown out of proportion. I think a few other changes were happening. But when you look at the new versions of FIFA, you want those dynamic changes, the big defensive changes, the potential upgrades of different spaces. Maybe they make some tweaks to Volta like they did in this year. None of those being ported over to Switch is such a disadvantage for Switch players and such a disappointment as well. Personally, I don't buy the sports game every single year. I usually go a few years in between and update some rosters myself. But overall, if you're one of those people that buys every single year, it sucks to do it on Switch if this is the way EA is going to treat you. And honestly, John, it's not that different from PC. When you look at PC for a lot of these games, EA and Take-Two as well with NBA 2K, they've decided to give the last generation game of the consoles to the PC. So your PC, that giant powerful machine out there that a lot of people run as PC gamers in general, you're now playing the Xbox One PS4 version of the game when there's a new up-and-coming Xbox Series X and PS5 version out there that's going to have enhanced features that your PC version won't even have. It's just one of those things where Take-Two and EA are cutting corners in these areas, and it's one of those things that I don't know if tons of gamers really realize how they're being cut out of the picture here, and it's such a dirty practice by both these companies, multi-million-dollar companies at that.
Yeah, while I am upset that the PC is getting the short end of the stick, it really it doesn't bug me as much because it is that awkward period switching from a generation of console to the next generation of console. But what really irritates me when in comparison, and I think Panicking Pat can even attest to this, we were both in the closed beta. We both played the game. And now that it's out in public, one of the big things that FIFA players have complained about is the feel of the game. The game just felt broken. There were certain things passing and shooting wise in the game that just mechanically didn't make sense and people were able to exploit. The gameplay in FIFA 21 has improved quite a bit. It feels good. It actually feels like a game that works. Joey, I can send in a cross in the box, and if I do not actually move my joystick on the controller, like if I'm trying to do a cross up, if I don't actually move the stick up, it will actually cross straight forward instead and go out of bounds. Last year, it didn't matter. You didn't have to aim. It would automatically assist it into the box. They have made quality of life changes that make a lot of sense in FIFA 21. It feels better. It plays better. Yes, there are some other issues in regards to Volta there, but Switch players aren't even going to get that gameplay, that quality of life update. And that's horrible. They're stuck with another year of a FIFA game that was not fun to play. It was broken, especially if you play online. It was not fun to play. We see a lot of players that play Ultimate Team for year after year after year. FIFA 20 about broke them. About absolutely broke them with how crappy of play this game was. It seems to have been fixed somewhat in FIFA 21. So far, a lot of positive feedback in the gameplay. Switch players, you're probably going to have to wait till FIFA 2022 to get any kind of quality of life gameplay update. That's not cool. They're trying to charge you another full price for this FIFA 21 game. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it.
No, but unfortunately, Candraith in chat does bring up a good point. People are still buying the games.
Yeah.
So if you're an EA, if you're a Take-Two with the way you've handled NBA 2K here and there, it's going to continue to be handled the way it is, and these games are going to be put out the same way they are for PC, potentially for Switch here, like we're seeing with FIFA. It's one of those things, if people continue to buy the game, then things are not necessarily going to change. Hopefully EA has that change of hearts for Switch players, and we do eventually see that upgraded version of FIFA go to Switches. But at least for now, it looks like the second year in a row of a lot of those major chains missing. Moving forward from one disaster to another, after releasing Crucible in May and then unreleasing it about a month later in late June, early July, Amazon Games has now decided to move forward with canceling Crucible, one of their original first-party titles over there. I know a few people in the OTN community did play Crucible. Squircle was one of them. T-Spans, I believe, gave it a try as well. There was some positive feedback that came from it, some originality, some different modes that really brought some life to the game. Unfortunately, the player count decreased and decreased and decreased to it practically no longer existed. I believe it was under 100 people like a week after release. So they did end up unreleasing it. They took it back to a beta. They were going to try to work with those high dev or those players that gave a lot of hours into the game with the developers directly to see what they could change to try to improve the game itself. After about 3-4 months of time working on it, they have decided to completely cancel this one out. The resources are not going to go completely to the wayside. They will be moved around. They're going to stay first party, being moved over to, it's believed to be the New World and Pac-Man Live Studio. New World being one of the other big titles that Amazon's working on the first party side. Pac-Man Live on the other side. This was a game originally set to launch in June as part of it's kind of like a combination game with Twitch. It'll be playable on Twitch. It was supposed to, again, launch in June, and we have not heard a single word about this game, so it very well could have been canceled as well. Not really 100% sure on that one, but New World, we can pretty much confirm that some of these resources will go over to that game. Again, John, though, another foray where we see Google and Amazon trying to step into the gaming space and continuing to stutter here and there.
Falling flat on your face is an understatement. Amazon just absolutely not even really getting out of the gate. Like, the fact that they pulled back a released game into a closed beta is that's unheard of. Like, that doesn't happen that often at all. And then they just straight up cancel the game. That is a great start to your gaming career there, Amazon. Billions and billions and trillions of dollars, and we can't even get a video game right. But it's cool. I'm so excited. Joey, hold on a second. I am so excited for Pac-Man Live. I cannot wait to pre-purchase Pac-Man Live and play it on OTN Twitch with fellow gamers in chat. Joey, I am not excited at all for Pac-Man Live. You're canceling a game that had hype around it, and you're diverting resources to the 80th version of Pac-Man.
Okay, New World is in there too. They have New World looks good.
New World looks fine. I'm talking Pac-Man though, Joey. If we were talking about bad decisions, if we're talking bad decisions from EA copy and pasting gaming code and re-releasing it at full price for FIFA on Switch, and then we're talking about a game that came out, then was pulled back into closed beta, and then canceled, and now we're going to say, oh, all this money we're not going to redirect into Pac-Man. Not a new title, not a new kind of game. We're going with Pac-Man. That's almost as old as Pong, Joey. We're talking Atari. We're talking Boomer console. We're bringing it back. I am not if you are a fan of Amazon Gaming Studio, you cannot be happy with this news. Cool, yeah, New World's getting some of the funding. Okay, awesome, great. That's one title. Honestly, Joey, put a poll up right now. Do you have confidence that New World will even actually come out for live testing, if not being pulled back and canceled also. Like, if you're an Amazon, you don't have to put a poll up, Joey. That was sarcasm.
Oh, okay. I'm writing it over here. I'm ready to go.
No, I don't have faith in Amazon producing a game right now. Like, I am not excited about any of this. Yeah, there's a lot of hype around New World, but I'm just not excited about anything Amazon's doing in the gaming space right now with how bad Crucible failed. I mean, it was an absolute disaster, probably worse than Google Stadia is right now. Like, that is not a good showing at all.
Okay, guys, I said this over the summer, and I'm going to stick to it because a lot of people don't believe me, and I really think it's going to come to fruition. As we continue to see Google and Amazon fail at game making, Google with Stadia continuing to make bad decisions, Amazon now canceling, I believe this is their third or fourth game in a row that they've had to cancel and move resources around. This is going to start a cold war with buying up studios. I guarantee it. Microsoft jumping in and buying all these studios. They have went from something like 6 studios to like 23 studios over the course of like 2 or 3 years. They're not going to be the only ones. As Amazon continues to fail, Amazon does not give up on anything. They are going to find a way to succeed in video games, and they're going to do it by buying people. They're going to go out there and buy an EA or a Take-Two or maybe even an Activision. They're going to buy people. Maybe they start small and buy some smaller studios like a Moon Studio that did Ori, critically acclaimed, does very well, did not want to be bought initially by Xbox. Maybe Amazon swoops them up. But I'm telling you guys, it is going to be a cold war of buying studios. Microsoft will be in it. Sony's going to jump in it. They have cash on hand as well. You look at Tencent. They're already buying tons of studios out there. I think they bought like 10 just this past couple months. THQ Nordic is buying a lot of studios up. They bought 8 just over the summer. So a lot of these little studios and even the bigger ones are now becoming more and more targets. Google's a little different. I could see Google just saying, hey, we didn't do a great job here. We're eventually going to fold. We've seen it happen with Google Tasks. We've seen it happen with about 1,000 other Google applications out there. They are okay giving up and moving on to other things. Amazon does not back down, and I think it's really going to start a very big studio acquisition war.
What was that Google social media thing? Was that Google Plus? They tried to make
the social media. Yeah, Google Plus. Yeah.
And like, I remember how exclusive that was when it came out. Like, everyone was fighting for beta keys to get into Google Plus. And I remember getting a beta key and I'm like, I'm really underwhelmed by this. And then it was like really cool for like 8 months. And then it just kind of, no one cared anymore. And I think it finally just shut down not even a year ago. And it's been an absolute failure. So kudos to Google for at least admitting defeat. Amazon, it's a little mud on your face a little bit. It's fine.
Squirkle does bring up a big point, though. Amazon did buy out Crytek's engine and then just rename it Lumberyard under Amazon. So again, they have started diving into this a little bit and kind of renaming products their own. But again, guys, I think this is the beginning, and eventually they're going to splash the cash on someone big.
But Joey, it's okay. Prime Day starts tomorrow.
True. You guys can help fund Amazon's next acquisition.
There you
go. Let's see. Next up, after months of speculation, tons of social media posts, lots of drops of different singles, we now have an idea that the next KDA guest idol, Seraphine, will be heading to the Rift as well as one of her next stops on her tour. John, we do have her abilities. They are now officially released. They were leaked a little while ago, her player model and everything as well. I don't believe they said what role she'll be in just yet. If I personally had to guess, I'm going to say support. She feels kind of like a Sona 2.0, a Sona V2, a little bit of an improved version of that Sona playstyle. So we'll have to dive through these a little bit, kicking things off with her passive. Do you have the abilities up as well, sir?
Oh, I do.
These are very colorful. Chat, we can post this in here. It's probably going to yell at me.
It's live on stream. It's fine. Don't worry.
Oh, you're amazing.
See,
can you
look
zoom that in a little bit?
That,
oh,
Joey.
Beautiful. Wow.
I'm on it.
Progress. Look at this. Leveling up our production over here. Her passive, stage presence. Every third basic ability Seraphine casts will echo, automatically casting a second time. Additionally, whenever she casts an ability nearby an ally, she'll create a note. We're talking like those little bard notes. It kind of feels like a little bit. Each note gives her basic attacks more attack range and deals additional magic damage consuming the note. This to me, it feels a little bardish, a little bit more combat heavy version of Bard's note. So it's not as much encouraging roams as it is those combat attacks. But it is kind of a cool ability, and I kind of like her kit a little bit more than Sona just off the get-go.
Yeah. I still can't get over the fact that it literally looks like Sona on a mini version of her DJ booth.
Yeah.
Like it is. in comparison to some of the other unique heroes we've seen come out, or champions in League of Legends, this one doesn't feel as unique. It literally feels like Sona and Lux combined Star Guardian skin on top of a miniature Sona DJ booth.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail right on the head. And I think one of the big things with this, we talked about the notes a little bit, but every third basic ability she casts will now echo casting it a second time. I'm assuming she scales with AP, so ability power for those of you who don't play League of Legends, that's kind of like your magic damage. If it scales with that and she builds a full AP build in a sense, if they have the scaling messed up, she is going to hammer people in team fights with that thing echoing back and forth. Over to her Q, high note. John, you want to sing a high note for us here on the show?
No.
We'll have to take with what we get there. Seraphine projects a pure note, dealing magic damage that increased by the target's missing health percentage. Again, it's just a simple attack. We've seen a lot of these in League of Legends. It goes out, it hits, it does damage a little bit over time there. Bada bing, bada boom. Nothing too special with that one. I think the key is that it's increased by the target's missing health percentage. So a little bit of that, if you start to whittle them down a bit, it's going to hit a little bit harder as they get a little bit lower in health. Over to her W, surround sound. Seraphine surrounds her nearby allies in a song, granting herself and her allies movement speed and a shield. If Seraphine is already shielded, she can heal her nearby allies, restoring health based on how many allies are near her. This, guys, is that Sona copy and paste. Did EA make this champion? It's one of those things that we see abilities used very similarly overall. This one, again, very similar to Sona, her version 1, it feels like. I like the idea that there is a little bit of a complexity to it. So you have to be shielded to get that heal to proc. Otherwise, you just get a shield, and then it ends up strengthening based on the number of allies around you as well. Again, it kind of plays a little bit like a Taric as well in that sense, because you have to be around each other to get that full impact of the ability. So I do like her W a little bit more than Sona's as well.
Joey, I don't think they stole this from EA. I really don't. This idea of copy and paste. I think they hired idiots from EA. And they're like, hey, I got this great idea. It worked at EA, so how is it going to work here? Let's essentially just copy and paste a champion. This is what we're getting now.
It's not a complete copy and paste, but she definitely has a lot of her abilities taken from some other kits. And even the art style is very Sona-esque as well. Couple more skills to get through too. In fact, E is beat drop. Drop the beat, John. Seraphine unleashes a heavy sound wave, dealing magic damage to enemies in a line and slowing them. Enemies that are already slowed are rooted, and already rooted enemies are stunned. I really like this. Yeah, I think I really like this, looking at this even more. So it's one of those things that it kind of, I don't know who to compare this one with, actually. It has a little bit of that Sona vibe, but it also has a little bit of that Lux vibe. The fact that if you can hit them once, you get that nice little root coming up like you do with a Lux Q. On top of that, I think the line is pretty well straightforward. It's got a nice little width to it as well. I think this is one of those abilities that really makes her feel a little bit more support-esque to me. When I'm thinking of supports, I'm thinking of ways to pull in utility, whether it be slows, whether it be roosts, whether it be some ways to start and engage. This is one of those now.
Yeah, I do really like this ability from a support standpoint. I feel like this is incredibly useful, especially if your ADC has any kind of movement impairment in their kit. You can easily get stuns off, makes it a very dangerous lane. Paired up with this new champion. I agree 100%, Joey. I really like beat drop.
And her last ability is Encore. John, you have to sing her back on stage for this one. A couple things with this one. It is practically a Sona ult combined with a Rakan ult. So Seraphine takes the stage, projecting a captivating force that charms enemies and deals magic damage. Any champion struck, allies included, that is a big key factor in this, become part of the performance, extending the range of the ability and granting allies maximum notes as well. So if your allies are in it, they get a buff. When we look at Sona's ultimate, she freezes everyone in space. When you look at Rakan's ultimate, he's able to charm people and bring them toward your allies potentially or away, depending how you use his ultimate. This one now gives that ability to kind of knock those enemies around a bit with the damage, as well as the fact that you're seeing a nice little buff from this to the allies as well with maximum notes. So a good little play here overall. I don't think it's going to have a giant impact, but the fact that it does buff those allies will help the team fights quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely in team fights. And I feel like in lane 2, if the other lane's being very aggressive, this ultimate could definitely help bail your team out or turn the tide of a fight. But definitely in team fights late in the game, this ultimate is going to have some great, what's the word I want to use? I mean, it'll have the ability to really change the course of a team fight, especially if you are in the lower tiers and people are grouped up. I feel like this could be incredibly deadly and turn the fight in your favor. Overall, I like it. I think the kit's solid. I do think it is a little repetitive in comparison to some of the other champions we already have. You can kind of see where the inspiration came from. But overall, I think the kit is nice. And I'm really kind of interested to see how players will take her onto the Rift and how they play with her.
Absolutely excited to see her move from the stage to the Rift. I think great things ahead for Seraphine. And again, if we had a prediction, I think we're both on the same page here. She'll probably be in that support role.
Oh, 100% agree.
Clue will definitely take her mid lane, though. For those of you who know One True Prophet or Clue, he will most likely try to play her there, and I'm sure she'll fit all right. But I think it's going to be one of those things that probably is a little bit more dictated towards support. Upcoming, guys, mark your calendars. This one actually starts in 3 minutes. The Xbox Virtual FanFest registration opens tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That's for Xbox players, PC players, cloud gamers, those interested in helping out or participating in the Xbox FanFest. It's going to be a series of events, all virtual this year and next year, from trivia nights to different contests to the ability to see games ahead of time, play those games ahead of time. That does go live here again in just a couple minutes. I will shoot the link in chat. For those that want to register, the first 25,000 registrants get a chance at being in a featured trivia event on October 23rd. So go ahead and register for that if you are interested. Listeners who listen on the podcast later, I hope you saw tweets about it because I can't really help you listening a little bit later on in the week, I guess. Wow, Shadowlands pre-patch launches tomorrow for US Realms, Wednesday for EU. Jon, we've talked about the chairs earlier in the show. We have talked about WoW Shadowlands. We've talked about your hype, as well as your reaction to it being delayed, which seemed to be more positive than negative overall. What are your thoughts on the pre-patch, and what are we going to see when this launches tomorrow?
I'm excited for it. So we're gonna start to see the results of what we saw in that cinematic with Sylvanas taking on the Lich King and shattering that boundary between life and the afterlife. We're going to start to see a Scourge invasion in the capitals of both factions to really kick it off. We're going to see the level squish. That will go into effect as well. So if you are maxed out, you're going to be dropped down to 50. The abilities will be scaled back with you as well. But don't worry, you'll still be OP if you want to go back and do raids of past expansions as well. You'll still be one-shotting raid bosses still there. So don't worry too much about that one. But those changes will go into effect. I do believe the cosmetic changes will go into effect also. And the reason why this is a big deal is because Blizzard used to charge for the ability to change your appearance. If you wanted to change, how your character actually looks, you had to pay for it. Now it's free. You're going to be able to do it in the menu with this update. If you want to change the gender of your character, you can do that. The hairstyle, color, skin color, eye color, body jewelry is going to become a thing as well. So this is really cool that Blizzard is going to be making these changes and including them for free in this pre-patch. There's going to be 2 pre-patches in total, I do believe. I don't think anything has changed there. But this one is going to be the initial events of that shattering between the Shadowlands and Azeroth and the Scourge of invasion, plus the cosmetic changes as well.
So what are you most looking forward to? It might not come in the pre-patch, but for Shadowlands overall, what is that big thing that you were looking for to be more fresh than what we had with Battle of Azeroth?
Better story. Battle for Azeroth felt like it was rushed. The story didn't quite make sense. Now, Blizzard has always required the lore junkies to go outside of the game to get a bigger picture of what's going on. The issue is that if you don't do that, there's these gaps in the lore that don't quite make sense. On the Alliance side, during Battle for Azeroth, you have the return of Arthas's sister, who is who's now undead, but she was brought back from the light, not through the power of death like what we saw with the Lich King. So it was a new kind of undead, and it was really weird. Unless you went outside of the game and read the BFA novels that came out, you would never understand where she came from and what her purpose is in the game. In game, never really talked about. So that's one of the big issues with BFA. It just felt rushed. It felt like they were just recycling ideas. and just kind of pushing content for the sake of pushing content. The war itself wasn't really a war. The Alliance and the Horde never really fought against each other. And then towards the end of the towards the end of the expansion, what did they do, Joey? They realized BFA wasn't going well. So what did they do? Oh, yeah, that's right. Let's go fight an old god together. Like, it made no sense. Like, this entire expansion was about getting back to the roots of World of Warcraft, Horde versus the Alliance. And like always, they came together at the end to fight against Sylvanas, a common enemy, which completely justified. They take her down. But then all of a sudden, how are we going to finish up the late patch in the generation of BFA? Old gods. To me, it just didn't make sense. They even got rid of patch 8.3.5, which is supposed to be the last content patch before the next expansion coming out. They scrapped it. It just felt like everything in the last part of BFA's life was just given up on. And rightfully so. A lot of people were not happy with BFA. A lot of people quit. Subscription numbers dipped down, especially after Sylvanas ran away like a coward. So it's going to bring some people back. Shadowlands is a part of the lore a lot of people wanted to get into, especially myself. They're bringing back a lot of really cool names that we haven't seen in a lot of expansions. Like Kael'thas is coming back. He's going to be in one of the Covenants, and we're going to be able to experience him in the expansion as well. So it'd be kind of cool to see him too. We're going to see Uther come back. We already saw him in some of the short animated clips that came out. So from a lore standpoint, a lot of the OGs are coming back, and I think that's really going to help Blizzard retain players and bring more players back because these OG characters are going to be back in the game.
Sweet. Well, thank you, sir. You gave me plenty of time there to register for FanFest as well. I knew you'd come in clutch. See, I got to hit that right topic. So yeah, Xbox's site did crash a couple times during that registration, but we are in. So I don't know how many people are registering, but there we are.
Are you going to watch it on Mixer?
I have no idea. Oh, very funny. Ha, 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 fam. Very funny over there. But at least we're registered. That's what matters. We'll try to do something for OTN on that one once we figure out what these events actually look like. Gears Esports has locked in its 12 qualifying Pro League teams for Split 1. We have Rise, UYU, the champions from last year, Pittsburgh Knights, Fire and Ice, Hive, Noble, Vanquish, Rebel, Carnage Gaming, the People's Champs. I don't believe it's owned by The Rock, John, but they do take that term right there. Elevate and Apricity Esports, I believe is how the last one's pronounced. So guys, just a reminder, Gears Esports, not the biggest of scenes out there when it comes to esports, but it is a scene that is now allowing for open qualifiers. So about half of these teams did lock down their spots previously based on how they performed last year. The rest of these teams, some of them returning, but they did have to play through those open qualifiers. So if John and I wanted to start a team and try to make it into the pro scene, there are open qualifiers where we could do that. We'd probably get our butts kicked and not make it out of the first round, but the possibility is there for us at least to give it a try.
I'd have to reinstall the game first.
Hey, come play some Horde mode with me, sir. I'm really enjoying it. Fun fact, ladies and gentlemen, this is not in the notes. I am going to complete my first battle pass ever in a game. I've never fully completed a battle pass, but I think Gears of War, I might actually complete this one. I think there's like 2 or 3 weeks left, and I only have a couple things left to do. So I might have my first battle pass completed in what has it been, like 3-4 years since battle passes have been a big thing?
Joey, do you hear that sound? Do you hear that?
The crickets?
Yes. Yes.
All those fans just caring. I know. It's a big thing for me. I feel like I never get close to completing battle passes. I always put the like $5 into games to get them. And then I'm like, why did I do this? I do not have the time to complete this. But somehow Gears has been long enough that I might actually pull it off. Might. CSGO, we had IEM New York this past weekend. Semifinal number 1 went the way of FaZe Clan, taking a 2-0 win over the very powerful Team Vitality roster. In semifinal 2, we did see OG pull off the win against Fnatic in a 2-1, heading us to a grand final with FaZe and OG. John, not the prettiest of finals. Not the most exciting, not the most exhilarating in any way. This one was a easy clap for FaZe, a 3-0 overall. Some competition here and there, but FaZe looking very, very strong the way they close this one out. So they do become your IEM New York Grand Champions. FaZe Clan once again showing a bit of a resurgence. We saw them dip off for a bit there with some of these younger clubs starting to make a bigger name for themselves. Now FaZe rising back up at the top. Cold Zera over there really boasting that roster up as well. So FaZe looking really strong here coming out of IEM New York. With nothing else on that one, we'll head over to our next shooting title, and that is Overwatch League. Jon, we have got to give ourselves a pat on the back. We predicted the heck out of the Overwatch League playoffs this year. We hit a perfect record through the NA bracket and the Asia bracket. Guys, we're practically prodigies when it came to the regular bracket. But as all prodigies come, we did get quite humbled when it came to the grand finals because we dropped some here and there. Our first one that we ended up dropping was the Shanghai Dragons. Jon and I's favorite for the tournament did end up going down. They lost to San Francisco first, 3-2, dropping them to the losers bracket and then to the Seoul Dynasty. Seoul coming through, continuing that Asian dominance that we saw a bit in the Asia bracket, falling to Shanghai before, but not this time. This time they take the 3-2 win to advance to a finals to meet the San Francisco Shock. We talked a little bit about predictions last week, Jon. You went ahead and predicted Seoul here. They gave you your second loss on predictions. I predicted San Francisco, so I will stay with that one single loss of the Shanghai Dragons. San Francisco does come out of this one 4-2 as the victors. I think the biggest takeaway from this, Jon, not only that San Francisco did extremely well, but this is a San Francisco that lost Sinatra partway through the season. This is a San Francisco that had to make some trades throughout the season. This is a San Francisco that was your grand champion last year, lost the big MVP of last season, and still found a way back to the finals. Not only back, but back to win it again.
Yeah, and in Overwatch League short history, the Shock are now your first back-to-back champions. Again, in a very incredibly short history of the league, but that is still pretty good with how competitive, if we want to put that in there, this league has been. With all the random changes that have come out over the past 2 years in regards to how the game is played, in regards to the comps, in regards to now, hero bans that are done by the developer and not the players. There's just a lot of hurdles there, and it's kind of impressive to see the Shock be able to overcome those hurdles when so many other teams fell victim to those hurdles and repeat for 2 years in a row. So kudos to the San Francisco Shock for being able to repeat and defend their title. And hey, let's see if they can do a three-peat. Who knows?
And again, we don't usually pat our own back, but this one is a big thing, Jon. Between both of us, we only missed 2 matchups throughout all these playoffs. Practically amazing when you look at it overall. So really, really proud of our predictions so far for the Overwatch League, especially with the different changes throughout the season, from the major roster changes from some organizations all the way to the idea of having to move from home stands to online. Many different major changes had to happen this year to make this all happen. But in the end, they were able to put together a great show. The grand finals, amazing stuff to watch if you guys didn't get a chance to. The highest level of Overwatch competition being played in these playoffs, from crazy upsets from our very own Washington Justice, all the way to repeats of the San Francisco Shock, putting a name once again on that trophy as the Shock continued their reign from Season 2 to Season 3 here. Over to League of Legends, our final topic of the day. We have Worlds 2020, the biggest esports competition in the world. The second, if you look at full sports overall. The only thing beating out viewership numbers for League of Legends, no, it's not the Super Bowl. League of Legends actually dominates the Super Bowl. It is purely the Champions League final for European soccer. The only thing that stands above League of Legends in esports right now when it comes to the sports comparison. This is great. Groups, I don't think were the most exciting thing this year. There were not the huge amount of upsets that a lot of people expected. It kind of played a little chalky overall. But again, the level of play that we have at Worlds, I think, is something spectacular to behold. Is there something in particular, I'm afraid to ask this question, is there something in particular that stood out to you in the group stage that really gave you a little bit of that awe factor, that excitement once again?
Okay, so the positives. Suning versus G2, absolutely fantastic. All 3 games played between those 2 teams were incredible. If you want to watch some great League of Legends being played, I would definitely check out any of those 3 games. Week 1 against them, week 2 against them, and the tiebreaker. I think it was absolutely fantastic. Those games were incredibly fun to watch. Not saying others weren't, but those are definitely 3 games that definitely stood out to me. Now, if I may, Joey, may I get on my negativity soapbox real quick?
Is it going to relate to TSM?
You would think so.
Please bring it.
Okay.
Bring the heat, John.
TSM, you went 0-6, but you want to know something? I'm not going to put the blame on TSM. I know this is going to shock a lot of people. I do not blame TSM for being TSM. I have zero blame to give to Team Solo Mid for how poorly they performed. Instead, I'm pointing the finger at you, LCS. I'm pointing the finger at you, Riot, for changing the qualifying for the LCS making it to Worlds. By doing this, somehow, some horrific demon child was born in the form of TSM and was sent off to Worlds to represent the LCS. There is no way TSM should have been in here. FlyQuest is even a question mark too, but you want to know what? They won 3 games. At least they came out 500 along with Team Liquid. But I am sorry. If the idea is to send your best teams, why are you going to sit here and say the spring split literally in LCS does not matter? Why try? Why even try? Championship points out the window means absolutely nothing. Spring meant jack. So we go off to summer split. And what happens? TSM gets hot at the end. TSM somehow qualifies after a craptastic spring. After a very mediocre summer, they qualify for Worlds and they go 0-6. So yes, TSM, you're a historic organization in esports and League of Legends. You should have done better. But you want to know what? You shouldn't have even been there. That falls on the LCS and their change when it comes to qualifying for Worlds. That is not the way you do it. LCS is already the laughingstock of League of Legends when it comes to just playstyle and performance in Worlds already. Cloud9 is the only team, historically speaking, to perform well ever out of the NA region at Worlds. Cloud9, who finished first in the spring, who kind of stumbled a little bit in the summer, should have been able to qualify for Worlds, not TSM. And I'm not saying that as a Cloud9 fanboy. I'm saying that as someone who watches the LCS, who wants the LCS to get through this meme period that it feels like we're stuck in and actually compete in Worlds. Sending TSM through a broken system to qualify for Worlds is not the way you win people over. You don't make NA fans happy. The meme continues. EU's over there sitting there laughing like crazy because both Fnatic and G2 made it through. Sorry, Rogue, 1-5, it's okay. But I'm sorry. This falls on the LCS and their change in how you qualify for Worlds. Simple as that. Do better.
Okay, you're right and you're wrong, factually speaking. So a couple different things here. One, in general, it is not all TSM. I completely agree on that point. Do I think some fault lies with TSM? 100%.
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
are definitely drafts that should have been done differently. There are definitely players that could have probably communicated better in game. Again, we don't have the comms right in front of us. We can't listen to those, but I guarantee there were things that TSM could have done differently to win some of those games. That first game against Fnatic, it was 100% winnable for TSM. A couple of those other games, definitely winnable for TSM. So overall, some blame goes to them. Now, the root of the issue, I think you're completely correct, John. It comes down to the LCS, but not only the LCS in the sense of the qualifying, because I think that is a big point, but also the way they handle their academy system and the way they adapt to the meta. When you look at all these other different regions, there is a meta that they have developed. There is a meta that they're willing to play through. And yes, some adaptations can be made for like EU competing up against LCK or LPL teams, and they're going to look at different picks differently because they're favored in the LPL or in the LCK. I feel like NA does a little bit of that, but when you looked at the way they played picks versus these other regions, they did not look like they were prepared for them at all. I mean, look at Zillion, for example, with Bjergsen. He was drafting Zillion when no other team is drafting Zillion, which is great. It could be a pocket pick coming in for the team, but it got demolished. It did not even look like a pocket pick. It looked like a trash pick is what it looked like. And this is Bjergsen, who typically does really well on the Zillion. So when you look at this overall, was TSM prepared? I think some of that drops to the coaching. I think some of that drops to the LCS for how well they've prepared these teams for the meta. And again, I don't know if it's necessarily all on the organization itself, but also on some of these orgs and the way they've scrimmed each other for the meta. Are they really understanding how the world's meta is going? Are they saying, hey, we're the LCS, we get paid tons of money, we're just going to be over here and do our own thing until it comes to World's time? Or are they actually studying film from Korea, from China, from EU? Are they looking at the meta and trying to adapt as the season goes on? I think some coaches are, and I think some are not, and I think that's where we see some of these differences as well. Now, back to the qualifying, because there's a couple different things with this too. The factual part coming in, at one point in time, the winner of the summer split got an automatic bye. So TSM could have potentially made it that way as the winner of the playoffs as well, because at one point that was how it made its way in as well. So it could have been the regular season winner for summer making it, or it could have been the automatic bye going to the winner of summer playoffs, which in this case would have been TSM getting that automatic bye. So they could have still made their way there. It might not have been 100% discounted out. Now, overall, the fact that spring was meant for nothing. We slammed this when it first came out. It's one of those things where, yes, it gives teams the ability to try new things, to kind of have that hassle-free split in a sense where, hey, we can come out, try something completely different. If it works really well, let's carry it into the summer. If it's trash, let's get rid of it. Okay, we can kind of see the philosophy there, but now you look at something like EU, where it was competitive for the spring, competitive for anything that happened in between, whether it be no international competitions this year, but the scrims going on in between the seasons and the splits. And then in the summer, complete competitiveness once again. We saw teams like Rogue and Mad Lions come out of nowhere and pop up and do really well. Mad Lions taking games off G2 in the spring playoffs, then moving on to the summer and doing really well. They did fall off a little bit heading into Worlds, but they still showed overall that as a very young team, they can put things together. Rogue, another team that everyone doubted, came into the summer and was just ready to go after the points they already acquired from the spring. So when you look at it, would Fnatic have gone to Worlds had there been no spring points? There's a possibility they would not have made it. I mean, in the end, they would have because of the way they got through some of the playoffs in summer, but potentially teams like that would have missed it. Mad Lions would have definitely missed out. Rogue may not have made it, except they got that automatic qualification. So there's a lot of things. And for me, the biggest thing is the championship points just give a meaning for everyone to do things and for people to watch. If you're an org with no championship points in the spring, outside of trying new picks, why are you even here? If you're a player, what's going to motivate you to do things if you're not getting points at the end of the day? If you're an organization, do I really want to pay these players tons of money for them only to really perform at the highest level in the summer split? If you're a fan, do I really care if C9 wins the spring? Because it absolutely means nothing except maybe a ticket to MSI if it even happens. Like, there's just so many reasons not to play the spring or not to really play it fully out or fully committed if there's not championship points involved.
Yeah, and it just, Squircle brings up a great point. No other league does this. Every other league still has championship points from what we can tell here. The LCS is the only one that made this change. It wasn't a competitive change. It wasn't in any way to make the league stronger. It made the league weaker. The LCS hurt because spring split did not matter. Yeah, okay, cool, awesome. In the terms, when we compare it to traditional sports, spring split is preseason. You do not see the first string starters in the NFL play more than a series or two in the first several weeks in the preseason at all. And the last preseason game, they don't even play at all. Like, that's essentially what the spring split in the LCS has become. It has become 100% irrelevant. Cool, yeah, Cloud9 won the spring split. As a Cloud9 fan, I'm happy. Waited 6 long years for them to win a split again. But you want to know something? Did it really mean anything in the long terms of things? Absolutely not, other than the fact we won a split. No points, no nothing, didn't qualify us for anything. MSI was canceled, whatever. It doesn't matter. Spring means nothing. The LCS needs to change this going forward. It is hurting the LCS region, the NA region as a whole, holding them back by throwing out an entire 10 weeks of League of Legends play because, we want to try something different? Absolutely not. That's how you get teams in Worlds that should not be there.
It will be changed. They're going to copy LEC. They do it almost every single season. This one being that one difference where they tried to be unique. It did not quite work out. We've seen it before where they did the best of threes. It didn't quite work out either. I think now with these continuing not to work out, they're going to once again copy the LEC and use that format, which I think is quite effective overall. Couple fun facts for the group stage before we talk briefly about the quarterfinals and wrap up today's show. TSM was the first Pool 1 seed from a major region to fail to win a game in the group stage, going 0-6. That is a world history record there for Pool 1 seeds. On top of that, a little bit more on the positive side, the latest first blood in world's history was also set this group stage. It'll be in the exact final match of the group stage between Top and DRX. 24 minutes and 4 seconds is the new record. The previous record 26 seconds earlier at 23:38. That one occurred in game 1 of the 2017 World Championship Finals between Samsung Galaxy and I put TSM. That is not right. That is T1, I believe. That actually SKT that was in that particular championship. So overall, a nice change there. A little bit on the negative side with the Pool 1 team not performing super well, but the latest First Blood is kind of a fun fact to throw out there as well.
You know what, NA fans? We're in the history books, baby. TSM did it again. Put them in the history books. First Pool 1 seeded team to not win. NALCS. NALCS. I'm going to go cry after this show, Joey. This is
okay,
horrific.
Toxicity. Let's move on into the quarterfinals where we're going to see my boys Fnatic probably get obliterated here in the first round. We do have 4 matchups that did get drawn, and we'll just go a little bit short because they do kick off on Thursday, so we can talk more on Thursday about these, with the exception of the first one that we do need to hit tonight because it is played, I believe, 6 a.m. Eastern time on Thursday, and that is Top Esports, the number 1 seed for the overall tournament in most people's books, up against my boys from EU in Fnatic. A lot of people picking Top Esports out of this one, except for those EU fanboys who really want Fnatic to come out on top. What are your thoughts on this matchup, John, and what is your prediction?
I would love for Fnatic to come out on top of this. I think that would be a great story out of the quarterfinals. This might be the worst draw for Fnatic, really for any team going up against Top Esports. I mean, Fnatic loves playing the role of the underdog. They've done it before. And they have surprised a lot of people. I would not sleep on Fnatic, but boy, this is such an uphill battle. This is definitely a quarterfinals to watch.
I need a prediction. That was very nice fancy talk you did there, but you're not going to get yourself out of a prediction here, sir.
Thursday.
No. This is Thursday morning. We are not recording LvLUp at 6 a.m.
I beg to differ. Hello.
One.
I'm taking the day off from work, Joey. Where's your commitment?
And you're going to take a day off for work to record at 6 a.m.?
Yeah, why not? I don't like my job. So
give me your prediction.
I'm going to take Top Esports. It's best of 3, right? Or is it best of 5? Best of 5. I'm going to say 3-1 Top.
I'm going to go 3-1 Top as well. One key thing to look at here, and again, a little bit of Fnatic bias coming in here. I do think they're beatable. Top Esports did fall to FlyQuest, which is an NA team. And again, NA as a region did not perform super well this tournament. TSM. And they did draw one off of Top Esports here in FlyQuest. The other thing to look at is the jungle matchup. Top Esports and Fnatic both have great junglers, but Selfmade has been one of the best jungles all tournament long so far. And we're currently, if we look at the worldwide meta, we're in a jungle heavy carry meta. So if Selfmade can come out, if they can find a way to feed Selfmade again, I think he's going to be heavily targeted banned in this matchup. They're going to try to shut down his Evelyn, his Hecarim, a lot of his big picks out there, his Graves maybe potentially as well. If he's able to find a pick and maybe bring in some surprise picks, I think Selfmade could really surprise people. The other thing to look at is Knight. Knight is supposedly the best mid laner in the world right now for Top Esports, and he is not performing at that level, at least through the group stage. Again, I don't think Nemesis is going to be able to take him down, but if we look at the weakest position on Fnatic, I would say it's probably mid lane in most matchups. If they're able to find a way for Knight to, or even Nemesis not to fall super behind Knight, then we could end up with quite a good matchup on our fingers here. This one could go 5 games. It could even be a Fnatic win, but overall, looking statistically, I'm going to go 3-1 Top Esports. These next ones we don't have to hit too heavily, John, because we can talk about them more on Thursday. But we did see Suning draw into JD Gaming. I think this is going to be another really fun matchup to touch on. I think there's a lot of great action ahead in this one. The Chinese number 2 seed and number 3 seed. Are you leaning one way over another at this point, though, John?
I do like Suning's play style. I think they had a very tough group to compete in. I think they played incredibly well. I think they're up for the challenge against JD Gaming. They have that experience next to each other, being the 2 and 3 seed respectively out of China. I think Suning can take this. I think it's going to be close. I think it'd go 5 games, but I do think Suning can come out on top.
I like it. I'm going to take JDG probably in that one. Not 100% sure on that just yet, but I am leaning to them in a very close series as well. Gen G, the number 3 team over there from South Korea, the LCK, up against G2, the number 1 seed. They ended up being the number 1 seed for LEC over there. Another spicy matchup. A lot of people picking G2 in this one. Will you follow suit?
Yeah, I'm going to give G2 the edge. Gen G still playing well out of the LCK, the third seed, like you said, but G2 esports really has been on a different level. They've been really up to the task of taking on a lot of these powerhouse names. I think G2 can take this away from Gen G. I think it can go 5 games as well. I think 3-2 Gen G if I was to make a prediction right now.
Yeah, I think G2 has shown a lot of vulnerabilities this year. They've shown they're not the G2 of last year. I think they are a weaker team overall. Gen G also being in a similar situation, though. They both have star-studded rosters, but both have faltered throughout the split. Gen G being beaten by Fnatic once and then absolutely stomping them in the second game of groups. So they have shown that weakness as well as that strength. I'm curious to see how it matches up against G2, but I'm not heavily, but I am leaning toward G2 at this point in time as well. Last but not least, the final quarterfinal matchup. We have Damwon Gaming over there from South Korea coming in, I believe, as the number 1 seed up against the number 2 seed of Dragon X. A big South Korean matchup here, very similar to what we see earlier with the LPL and the Chinese teams in the upper side of this bracket. Now Damwon up against DRX. John, are you leaning toward one way? Are you ready X marking the spot here, or is Damwon moving on?
Oh, well, first, you know what I would love to see? I would love to see if it's possible for the same region not to be matched up in the quarterfinals. I'd kind of like to see like a Champions League-esque kind of thing where you can't have more than one team from your league be in the same group or whatever. I'd like to kind of see that in the quarterfinals as well. I think that'd be kind of interesting. Instead of having 2 teams from China and 2 teams from Korea going up against each other early on in the quarterfinals, but that's neither here nor there. I take Damwon. I think I'm going to give them the edge. They've been playing well all season. They've gone up against DRX before. During the season, they were able to play them incredibly well. I feel like their play in Worlds has been very strong. Both teams definitely, I mean, whoever wins this matchup, you know, if G2 comes out of it, I have a feeling that the winner of this tournament is going to come out of the bottom portion of this bracket, if you will. And who knows? G2 may have an opportunity to be the first Western team since season 1 to pull this off. G2 definitely has, I'm not going to say a easy path, but they definitely have a path to the finals that might not, if they're able to get there, would be very favorable, I would say. I'm going to take Damwon in this. I think this is also another one that goes 5 games. I think it goes 3-2 Damwon.
Yeah, I'm leaning Damwon as well. I think it's actually going to be a more dominant display from them, too, if I'm being completely honest. Like you said, they've played each other before. Damwon has got the better end of that deal multiple times now throughout the year. I think Damwon is just the next level of stronger teams in there. Now, with that being said, you made an interesting point here. You think there's a good chance that the winner will come from the bottom side. I actually lean a little bit more toward the top side. I think there's one team that I could see winning it on the bottom half of this bracket, but there are 2 up toward the top side that I think have a good opportunity as well.
Top esports and who else?
Top esports, and I think JDG.
JDG? That's fair.
I think either one of them is going to be in the finals if I had to take a wild guess right now. But again, who knows how it plays out, because Fnatic could mess up a ton of people's brackets if they do end up pulling off that upset against Top Esports. I don't have a percentage in front of me, but I believe Top Esports is the first, like the number 1 overall favored team to win the whole world championship this year. I think Damwon is second, maybe, and then is G2 or Gen G is third right now. So we'll see how it all plays out later on. And guys, we'll put up polls and everything and dive a little bit more deeper into these matchups if you want on Thursday. Again, the only one being played prior to the show on Thursday is that Top Esports versus Fnatic. If you want to watch that one, it'll be Thursday at 6 a.m. Eastern time. Thank you, Riot, for moving that back from 4 a.m. 6 a.m., a little bit more doable for us over here on the East Coast. That 4 a.m. time slot was quite a struggle to watch matches before, and I did sleep through that TSM one. Thankfully, it was practically a bye for Fnatic, but that would have been a tough one to wake up for.
TSM's going to change their name to Bye Week Gaming.
Oh, look, Pat has played Rogue Company. We still need to work on his spelling a little bit over there in chat, but he is giving it a try. Pat, I'm so glad to hear you're enjoying it. It's a great game. Chat, listeners that are not live with us, definitely worth checking out Rogue Company. Definitely worth checking out these esports events. A lot of great stuff coming throughout the rest of this week, and we are excited for the show on Thursday. For those of you who want to join us live, that is 8 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday as well.
Well, Nation, that will do it for this edition of Level Up Live. Before you go, head on over to patreon.com/OTN and consider becoming a part of the Overtime Network. In return, you will get access to exclusive content that nobody else in the world can get unless they are a part of OTN Media. If you haven't already, make sure you follow the show here on Twitch to catch the next episode of LvLUp Live. If you listen to the show on our podcast feed, leave us a review. LvLUp Podcast is available on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. We would love to hear from you. In fact, we love to hear from all of our listeners and viewers so much. We have other ways for you to reach out to us. Joey, where else can the LvLUp Nation go to interact with us?
LvLUp Nation, head on over to Twitter and find us at LvLUp Live. That is LvLUp Live. In addition to that, you can follow our umbrella company, OTN Media, on Twitter and Facebook as well, at OTN Media, and on Instagram at OTN_media. Last but not least, hit us up with a follow or maybe even a subscription. Those Twitch Prime subs are nice on Twitch. You can do so at twitch.tv/OTN Media. This show, LvLUp, is Mondays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. See you then.
All right, make sure you tune in this Thursday, October 15th, as we cover the latest and greatest in gaming and esports news. Do your ears and eyes a favor. Slap that sub and follow button to know when the next episode of LvLUp Live is ready for your visual pleasure. We'll catch you all on Thursday. Have a great week. Remember, be nice to your fellow gamers online, and as always, level up.